We's back! Yahoo! Waha!
Let's go.
Let's go! Sounds like it always says Mexico.
Mexico.
That's right.
In Italy.
Welcome to episode 31 of the Super Media Brothers podcast. I am Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okami.
We have a really cool episode for you today.
Very
cool.
You can't contain yourself.
No, you fucking
We can
can't.
tell.
I see the trickle of urine running down your fucking pant leg right now.
You gotta go change panties right now. It's okay.
Fucking do it.
Right now.
You're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. So, if you have listened to our Cult Cinema Showdown episode 1, one of the films on that episode was Satanic Cleaver Massacre from Cinema Epoch, most notably from director-writer Geno McGahee, which we fucking loved.
Mm-hmm.
So much, in fact, that we got a chance to actually have a conversation with Geno McGahee and kind of find out some insight on the movie and his beginnings, where he started, where he wants to go with his career, and a little bit of stuff in between, and his affinity for horror.
And most of other things, but yes.
Fuck yeah. And that was a lot of fun.
It was.
Like, lots of fun. Lots of interesting factoids about Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre.
But don't let us confuse you here. Let you take in the conversation and make the choice for yourself if it was awesome or not.
That's right. And I guess so, without further ado,
Ba-dum-dum.
here is our conversation with one Geno McGahee.
Enjoy.
All right, I'm Midnight Agent Raw.
And I'm Okami.
And we are sitting here with our special guest this week, Mr. Geno McGahee, director of Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre, one of the films we covered on our Cult Cinema Showdown series. Also, acquisitions manager of Cinema Epoch. How's it going, man?
It's going well. How are you guys doing?
We are doing just dandy.
It's rainy as fuck, but we're making it.
But dandy is good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Dandier than candy.
I rarely use dandy. Only when I'm really, really feeling dandy.
Feeling the mood for it.
That's right.
Sweet.
Ah, shit, man. Well, it's good to finally, talk with you, not on, text or Facebook or whatever. We've been, bullshit with each other for a little while now, man. So.
Yeah, this is the most I've talked to you, since I've added you on Facebook, too, so this is interesting.
Oh, yeah, well, speaking over the phone is something of the past. Everyone does the text or the messenger, so, yeah, you lose that personal touch for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still kind of old school when it comes to that. But I mean, it's very few people that I will sit there and be like, hey, dude, I'm going to call you, and I'll actually sit and have 2-3 hour conversations. I can probably count on one fucking hand, so...
Oh, yeah, I'm the same way. I've basically fallen into this generation of just texting everybody. It's easier, and I have a lot of people that don't know how to shut up. I'm probably one of them, but yeah, it's probably best to text. But certainly, it's great to hear you guys' voices, and I sincerely appreciate you guys taking the time to watch Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre.
Oh, we fucking enjoyed that one, man.
Big
time. Seriously, we really enjoyed the shit out of that one. And
I loved your podcast.
Oh man, thanks a lot, and we really appreciate everything, from your end of it too, man. Because we know you did podcasting before, and again, when you were talking about sometimes I don't know when to shut up. It's well, the three of us, it's we all do or have done podcasting, so it's sometimes it's not such a bad thing,
mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, well you probably know because I mean back in my podcasting days I would have guests on. I won't name names, but I was super excited because they were of some celebrity status, and they wouldn't fucking talk. And when they did talk, it was just boring shit. So, yeah, I like the guests that don't know how to shut up. I prefer that.
Right? And I won't name names either, but I know exactly which one, because I actually did listen, and I was just kind of like, oh fuck. I was like, oh man, I was disappointed. I was like, oh man, oh damn it.
You expect more out of them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I mean, I think we're talking about the same guy, the history behind him and the history that he kind of fell into. And then, he was just unable to make any statement whatsoever because he was afraid of hurting anyone's feelings.
Yeah, and you kind of can't be that way in this medium. Like, you like, there's a line you tote where it's like, okay, you can say things and, like, still have your opinion, without stepping on anybody's toes. But then again, I guess it's all on how, the other person...
Politically correct, basically.
Or the other person takes it, or any of that shit, really, so...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, well, and also, I mean, filmmakers and actors and artists, they tend to have a thin skin. And I've learned that just through reviewing films and dealing with them on a personal level, that they don't take criticism very well.
No, and again, that's another thing where, and at the same time, we all, think about it, how would we take it, if somebody came at us with our work, and it's like, I'm always open to constructive criticism, because I always feel like anything I do can be better, so it's like, But then there's some people out there that are just like, no, fuck you, this is the shit, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you're like, oh man.
Well, I was there, man, because, like, not to get off track here, but my film Rise of the Scarecrows came out in, I think it was 2009. It was the infancy of the Netflix streaming, and so back in the day, Netflix, they were looking for indie films because I guess they didn't really know what direction the streaming would go. So get the cheap guys, the guys that do it for a nickel, and so they bring me in, but the market just got huge. So a lot of people saw the movie, and I started getting emails that were like, fuck you, go kill yourself, and that was almost the general consensus from all the emails. And at first I took it very, I was like, how dare you, you don't know what obstacles I was up against and all this kind of stuff. But then after the 100th, go kill yourself, go fuck yourself, I started becoming numb to it.
Mm-hmm. And that's really fucking harsh. I mean, I remember, because, like, it's kind of funny you mentioned Rise of the Scarecrows, because I was going to, kind of start getting into, like, some bullet points I had right here is, like, whenever I told you, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go check out Rise of the Scarecrows, you were just like, oh, be gentle, it's my first movie or whatever. I was like, dude, everybody starts somewhere, fuck, you know what I mean? And then, but, having seen it, and then to hear that, people were like, oh, go fuck yourself, go kill yourself, it's like, do you have a fucking life? Do you just live to shit on people? Like, what the fuck? Yeah. So, well,
yeah, I don't get that either. I mean, like, even, like, I've ran Scared Stiff reviews for, now 12 years, and I've reviewed a lot of films, and even the ones that I've personally found nothing redeemable, I've never ever gone on a personal attack after them. I've tried to be as constructive as possible, but a lot of people they prefer, just to either get a rise out of someone, or they're just so upset with themselves that they have to lash out, one or the other.
I was about to say, they're the more thin-skinned types of people in the world anyway, if you think about it.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. It's the minute you speak, well, I want to say that there are some filmmakers that I've dealt with that can't even take constructive criticism. I had one filmmaker hit me up. I reviewed his movie, and I was very generous. And he hit me up, and he said, I thought, at first I thought you were just a blogger, but then I found out you were a filmmaker. So as a fellow filmmaking brother, I expect more from you. And so I ended up, after his long 2-page email to me, I just hit him back with "get a job," and
straight to the point.
So, yeah, and so he got all bent out of shape, and then he put up all these Facebook messages about there's a certain blogger / filmmaker, and I'm like, what the? And I couldn't believe it, because I was very generous with his movie. And in his movie, the highlight of his movie was a guy fucking a VCR. Now,
it's his turn with the sex box.
What's that?
Sex box?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're in a digital age. It's not believable that a guy would fuck a VCR anymore.
VCR, virginal cock receiver.
Exactly.
Fuck yeah! At least the vacuum still exists. Bring that in.
And they suck. They really do suck.
That's right.
They do. You get that shop vac.
But shit, man. Yeah, but like with Rise of the Scarecrows, I was gonna actually ask, like, what, like, getting into like your directorial stuff and writing and everything, like what were some of your inspirations, like, to get into like film in general, or like, the genre of horror? Because I mean, I know, like, we'll get into it a little bit later, you kind of want to step out of it a little bit, but like what were some of like your early influences, films or directors or people?
Well, I'll tell you, I ended up when I was 12 years old. My parents ended up getting one of those huge shoulder-mounted VHS camcorder things.
Oh yeah.
And I've always been a storyteller, and so I thought it would be rather cool to go and just start filming stuff. And so at 12 years old, I just started bringing the camera out and just filming stupid stuff about aliens getting kicked in the balls and things of that nature. and and my humor hasn't changed much. And so I then saw, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it, but Galaxy Invader by Don Dohler. It was a super low-budget film that made it into the video stores. And I'm like, shit, I can make these backyard films and do something, with it, or not do something with it, but at least it's something to do because he did it. And so Don Dohler is probably the biggest inspiration as to where I began. And what brought me to a feature from the point of being 12 years old and being in my early 20s and working at a video store was I had read an article in this video store magazine. It's the same magazine where you can buy all the pornos for your video station if your video station rents pornos. But they had good articles. And so I was looking through them, and there was a thing, if you want to make it in film, make a horror film on digital. And so I bought a $200 digital camera, and I just went to my group of buddies and had proposed the idea to make a slasher film. It didn't have to be good. It just had to be something on digital, and then maybe I could get it through the video store chain I worked at, which was local and 7 stores. But by the time we got it done, that video store had closed, and we ended up the whole market changed. But distribution, thankfully came into play for Evil Awakening, which was my first film. So not to keep on rambling, but what got me into it was, I think, instinctual. I think it was something that I wanted to see my writing in a different format. But Don Dohler was the one that kind of opened my eyes to the point where there was potential to make something without a huge budget and still have it be entertaining and still have it be something that people will watch, even if it's a small group of people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, because when you say films that have, like, that kind of lower end budget, like a couple of movies that always come to mind anytime somebody says that, like, that I've considered they were either in pop culture, that they were like very significant in mainstream eventually, because at the time when it did come out, it wasn't really mainstream until it got word of mouth and everything. Texas Chainsaw Massacre being one, and then Redneck Zombies being another one as far as low budget. And
absolutely.
Because the first time I saw Redneck Zombies, like, I rented it from a video store down here when, obviously when video stores were still a thing. And what drew me to it was the fact that it was a trauma film, and I fucking love Lloyd Kaufman. So I picked it up, and I was like, this motherfucker, it looked like straight up like a actual VHS, like, quality recording. And I was like, huh, I like it anyway. It kind of gave it its own character, But then
sure.
I know the three of us have seen Texas, like the original Tobe Hooper 74 Chainsaw Massacre film, and dare I say that's probably one of, if not the greatest horror film of all time, in my opinion. It is,
No, I'm on the same page. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the few that I think I've given a perfect score on my site, where it's like a demented home movie. They did everything right, and it did go to show that you can create something that has a raw, gritty, feel to it, that and it can still hit. We don't see that today. Everything we see today is very, very, smooth, or it's that shaky as shit, found footage that has nothing but the money shot at the end.
It's like too how do I put it? Like too polished almost.
Right.
Yeah, that's the fucked up thing is I've had I used to own a shitload of VHS. I'm a collector, no doubt, and I've gone every time they've come to Blu-ray. I've picked up the Blu-ray version, and there's something when they remaster it. Even though it looks prettier, you lose something. I prefer the VHS look of Madman over the Blu-ray look of Madman.
Yeah, it loses that and I always
authenticity, basically.
Yeah. Loses the authenticity behind it, and then there's because I'm trying to think of like a good way to word this, because what I call it is not necessarily what like the correct terminology would be, but I look at films like that with that grainy footage. It's like almost grindhouse style. It's dirty. You're not. It's like you have that feeling like, I'm not supposed to really be watching this, am I? But I'm gonna fucking watch it anyway.
Like it was thrown in the dirt or something, and just found in like 10 years later in a box somewhere, basically.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I've bought a bunch of those. Like, I'm not sure if you guys picked them up, but like the 50 packs of the horror films, and they're like from different eras, but a lot of them are 1970s films, and they're not touched, and they're just basically burned over from their VHS or whatever format they had to the DVD, and it has that great look to it that you don't get today. It's definitely something I miss, and I don't know what's sadder, the fact that it's gone, or we see the sad reproductions of it today. You can't reproduce it. It's just something that's just so beautiful, but it's unfortunately gone.
I mean, that's the bad thing about Hollywood these days. Like, they're running out of ideas as an original concept to create films on. So now they're going, well, what can we do to keep basically the money flow going? So now they're rehashing all these older films to the point where they're making it just like a darker, more gory aspect rather than keeping in tune with the original concept.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like more so on that, you have these same people, like you said, Cody, where they're also fans of whatever they're quote unquote remaking, and those people growing up is like, oh, I've always wanted to make a film like Texas Chainsaw, or I've always wanted to make a film like Evil Dead, or I've always wanted to make a film like Nightmare on Elm Street. And then you get these people that are like, well, we actually have the fucking rights to the properties, let's remake them so I can make these fucking movies. And then they usually turn out to be shit.
Yeah, all the time. It's and I try I try to go into these remakes with open mind, and but they've been so bad for the most part. Like I thought, the Michael Bay Friday the 13th, it was shot beautifully, a lot of cool things, but not very good. The Texas Chainsaws were complete shit. The Evil Dead I thought was shit. You would think that with just the amount of people that they have that can write, that they would go to them and say, hey, can we get a new idea? We've had the horror icons of the 80s. Why can't we create a horror icon now? Why are we relying on Saw Part 58 to carry us?
Exactly. Because there was a couple of films which I saw, and at the time I was like, these are good, and then going back and watching them, I'm like, well, there are some things they could have done a little bit better. The Collector, like both of the Collector films.
You're right.
Because the way I saw it, I was like, okay, here's potential for this guy to be in that lexicon of horror villains that are just classic, and it could have had the makings to be an instant classic villain. But now I'm just like, oh, you fucking dropped the ball. It's
oh yeah.
I think that's my favorite Slender Man, honestly. Like, that is, like you were telling us earlier, that we have to have an icon of the modern age, instead of rehashing the older ones. But that kind of concept has been like reused and redone and just washed out like so many years now. Like, how can you make what kind of was scary now? Like, it's not even horror anymore. It's just like, okay, now it's a cash grab, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we're really at a day and age where the audience, they refuse to allow themselves to kind of like relax and allow themselves to give the benefit of the doubt. It's like Blair Witch today would have never flown. It's the cynical audience that we have now that they are ready to troll it. They don't care, they don't care if it's good or not. they're going to go into it knowing I am not going to be scared because this is just a flick.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you overcome that? You're not going to overcome it, sadly, with slashers.
Mm-mm.
You know, I love the 80s slashers, but you bring them back, people are going to just be, laughing at it rather than just doing what they're intended to do, just jump and have fun with it.
But the thing is, like, the older movies had the actual good cinematography behind all the action sequences versus you just seeing that full-on, like, slice the guts open, chop the head off. It's like we're so oversaturated with that new age gore that the old age gore is just a joke basically to most of the society these days.
Yeah, and that's the sad part is because, like, you take fucking Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween. That movie worked so fucking well because of what you didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The shit that you don't see is more scary than what you could see because your mind, think about it, if you have high anxiety, your mind just starts thinking of all kinds of different scenarios of like, oh god, this. You see something like that happen on screen, you're like, holy fuck, how did that happen? Is he bleeding? Is she die? Like, you don't see some of this shit happening. You're like, fuck,
Oh, yeah, well, they have no respect for the audience. That's what it comes down to. They don't think the audience is smart enough or patient enough to sit there and go through a movie like Black Christmas, the original, obviously, where, I'm not sure, have you guys seen the 74 Black Christmas?
Oh, I have. It's been a while, dude, but God, I agree full on with that.
Dude, the cinematography, and at the end when they're going from I don't know if you remember, but from room to room, and you're waiting for the guy to come, and he never does, but it's such a terrifying ending to that film, and it's all it does is fuck with your imagination, it was done so great. You never see that now.
Yeah, it's tension.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Anxiety,
yes. Yeah. And now everything, because I've watched, I bought I found the Saw 8-pack or whatever it is, a 15-pack, whatever the fuck it is, for $8. And I said, well, you know what? I've only seen the first two. The first one was okay. The second one stunk. I'm going to give the other ones a chance. And if nothing else, at least I can write about them on Scared Stiff. And I could not get through the third one. And so I went to the fourth, and I could not get to the fourth one. It's how the fuck did these movies make money?
It's recycled concepts over, and it's overdone. Like, you can't make 300 of these after the first one, because I agree, the first one was decent. It wasn't the best, overall horror film, but it was still decent. But now you have 400 or 500 of them coming out, and it's like, okay, how many traps can you put these people in and kill them with?
How fucking elaborate is this guy? Like, really?
Yes.
Your suspension of belief just kind of gets thrown out the fucking window at some point.
Yeah, and I think too, like, it's kind of like the scary movies or the disaster movies where the intent is not to be good. The intent is to be cheap and make the money back in the first weekend, and then whatever else is gravy. And they do that because if you look at the history of the Saws, of the scary movies, of the Paranormal Activities, all these cheap shit movies, they do turn a profit. So it makes sense to make them, but it doesn't help good cinema, because we've not seen a really, really good horror film outside of maybe Get Out in a long time.
Because you're mostly appealing to the mass rather than just to specific fans that actually, like us, that appreciate like certain parts of how to make the film, how to create that horror, rather than just being like, oh, it's a horror film, put it on the screen, let's watch it.
Yeah, because Get Out was so fucking brilliant to me.
It was.
Like, Jordan Peele just fucking knocked it out of the park with that shit.
Well, and I'm a huge fan of the Stepford Wives, and to see it kind of translated with a different look and just brilliant writing and a great reflection on society, it was definitely genius, and it obviously tops anything else that I've seen, because everyone got a hard-on for Annabelle and The Conjuring and all that kind of stuff. And granted, it's better than Paranormal Activity and Saw, but 20 years from now, I doubt you and I will be sitting here talking about The Conjuring.
Oh, fuck no.
Probably not.
And the fucked up part is, like we've been saying, it feels like there's just nobody that is putting anything out. I think the last movie set that came out that people would probably still be well, we still are talking about it 20 years later, but I think even further along, because you got to think Texas Chainsaw was 40 years ago. 20 years ago, Scream franchise started, and that was successful for an entirely different reason, because Wes Craven knew that not only was he going to make a fucking slasher film in the 90s, it was also kind of poking fun at the genre at the same time. He knew, like, what beats he wanted to follow. He was like, okay, let's let's knowingly, to the audience, play off of these fucking horror movie tropes. And it worked.
Oh, I absolutely did. And you said it. He was making fun of, well, he wasn't insulting, but he was poking fun. Yeah. And a horror fan can live with that. But, you know, I think a big problem now is the movie industry. It's so hard to turn a dollar that the people that want to have the unique ideas, if you propose a unique idea to a corporation, are they going to choose your idea, which is really unestablished, or are they going to choose Nightmare on Elm Street 15 to produce? It just makes more sense to go with what at least has a following. So it's with all the piracy and with the DVD market in the tank, it doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people to make films anymore.
And that's sad, because, you know, like you're saying, the way you grew up, and, you know, you would go to video stores and you worked at a video store. You know, I've said this several times before on phone conversations, on, you know, text messages with you, like on the show here. You know, I grew up in a video store. Like, my family owned a video store for the better part of like 5, 6, or 7 years, and that's what drew me into film in general. You know, I'm a fucking movie buff because of that, and I miss those times. I feel like our generation is the very fucking last of that generation where we could go grab physical copies of shit on VHS, you know, because we were there when the market turned over to DVD, and we're here when the market is turning over to digital. And I feel like that's a big blow, because I think, you know, all three of us can agree, there's really nothing like going somewhere, picking up something, physically holding it in your hand. It's just like the way music has gone the way of digital. Like, thankfully, the vinyl is making a comeback in a way, because that's you know, something I miss too, picking a physical copy of music up.
It's gonna take the public to you know, say fuck convenience and go after, you know, the physical copies, because it's getting more difficult to find DVDs outside of Amazon, and it does suck, because I mean, I do stream films here and there, but I sincerely prefer to buy them, even if they suck. You know, because I'm an impulse shopper, and I'll go and I'll see a cool cover, and I'll buy it, you know, and I'll come home and I'll say, fuck, there's $15 I'll never see again. But I prefer that over streaming everything. I almost feel like streaming is abandoning what I love so much.
Oh, absolutely. Like, shit, Cody, you saw that tweet I fucking threw out earlier today on Twitter, where it's like, the instant gratification generation pisses me the fuck off.
Because it's not instant enough, basically, for them either. Like, like you said, you progress from going somewhere to get something to now it's right there at your doorstep. Now we're getting to the point where these people are like, I want more from that. And it's like, what can you do more than what you already have?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think part of the charm of, like we've been talking about with all this stuff, is the anticipation of getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody is so used to just having here. It's just so instantaneous that when people aren't getting something, they chew out motherfuckers that are trying to work hard to bring this shit to them. Like, you're not doing it quick enough, and this isn't blah blah blah.
Like with me, like my instant gratification was going to a game store, like in the grocery stores that actually had like the Sega collections and the old NES, Super NES.
Sure.
And actually picking up the cartridge and bringing it to the counter and having that anticipation, like, okay, I'm gonna get home, I'm gonna play this really awesome looking game, and then sit in front of my TV and do it like for hours and hours, where now it's like, push a button, oh, it's there, you know.
Yeah, it's terrible. And you know, I don't know if you know, you probably know, but back in the day when Blockbuster had the chance to buy Netflix, and they booted them out of the office and laughed at them and say, why buy them for $3 million when we're going to put them out of business. And had Blockbuster made the decision to buy them, I think we would still have the physical stores, and we would have just had a nice mix of different elements of the distribution machine, you know. But Netflix is, you know, I'm not a, you know, I used to be a big fan of Netflix, and it's not just because they told my movies to fuck off, but it's, you know, Netflix. I look at what they put out today, and there's no there. I guess I'm looking for something a little bit more indie, a little more raw, and everything is just smooth. They're almost their own channel. Mm-hmm. And if I see one more Adam Sandler fucking movie, I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh my god!
Don't get us started both, either. Man. Shit.
I'm the same way. Like Netflix is kind of just starting to wane a little bit.
Yeah, I was talking to Alex the other day, and fucking. I went to go watch something. I went to just go find something to watch on Netflix, and I froze because I'm like, there is just too much shit on there. Like, their original stuff. There is too fucking much. I get overwhelmed, and I'm like, I don't know where the fuck to start. Some of this shit might not be good. Some of it might be good, and it's like, dude.
Yeah. That's the weird thing about Netflix now. It's just they're making everything on their end rather than having anything that we might want to watch from like other companies now. So it's more of their brand.
Oh, you know, I tell you, I spend the $15 a month just to watch Mad Ron's Previews from Hell. I tend to watch that all the time. Have you guys seen that? It's on Netflix. It's just a bunch of 1970s horror trailers.
No,
and
I've seen it, but I haven't like watched it. I've seen like, you know, the art and like the presentation of like, oh, this, you know, it's like, oh, that looks interesting, cue list, and then like I said, I get overwhelmed and I'm like, fuck, you know,
forget it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, with me, I'm looking. Okay, I heard good things about Daredevil. I heard good things about all the other superhero shit they have, but I keep finding myself saying, fuck it, I'll watch Mad Ron again, because at least I know then I'll walk away okay. Because I'm not a guy to like binge watch a series, nor am I a big superhero fan, so getting hooked on Daredevil is probably not likely.
I don't know, man. See, like, that's the thing about what I was about to tell you, is that Daredevil really totes that line well, because when you watch it, you don't think, oh, superhero. You're like, it's a blind fucking lawyer. It's basically like a blind Batman, but Marvel. But the fight sequences in it are so well done, and it's like actual, like, you know, well choreographed fight sequences, really good, you know, story driven shit. And I was highly impressed. So, I mean, and that's not just because, like, you know, I'm a fan of Marvel's work or that character, but, you know, just looking at it from, just, you know, a moviegoer or a showgoer's perspective, it was damn good television, you know. So, I mean, maybe give it a shot, you know, and I'll have to get with you on it, you know, if you do check it out, and, you know, you can tell me, oh, it sucked, or like, oh, it was really good, you know. So
yeah, you know, I think like my issue and with a lot of these superhero things is like, you probably see I review the Hulk TV shows.
yes
Okay, and so I'm a huge fan of the Hulk TV show, because it's one guy with one problem. He's trying to solve it. He's hitchhiking across the country. I'm cool with that. And so he goes through all these issues and whatnot. He deals with problems. But then when they started bringing in other superheroes like Thor, I could not accept the fact that this other amazing thing is happening. I'm dealing with one thing, the Hulk. Leave me the fuck alone and get that guy the fuck out of here. So when I see like the Avengers, like, did you guys see Batman vs Superman?
Yes.
Okay, I know a lot of people fucking hated it. I liked it until Wonder Woman came in, because okay, I can deal with Superman. Okay, Superman's here. Okay, Batman's a human that says fuck Superman. I'm sick of him. I'm gonna take him down. And now we got Wonder Woman coming down, Aquaman fucking climbing from the sea. It's too much. I've lost. You know, we talked about, like, you know, throwing your belief out the door. I mean, they could have added Alvin and the Chipmunks next.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You need to, I think I could probably deal with Daredevil, because I loved The Dark Knight and I loved Dark Knight Rises, but the Avengers and any superhero movie that says we're putting every superhero and their uncle in this movie, I usually pass on that because it's just too much. And the way they butt-fuck the Hulk every chance they get in movies, it hurts because the Hulk was done right initially. You get a muscle-bound guy, I don't care if he's deaf or not, you paint him from head to toe, and you fucking throw him out there and have him break shit up.
No shit. And it's like, and I think that's kind of going into, that kind of could segue into another thing I was going to talk about, like with horror movies in general.
Sure.
CG versus practical effects. We see a lot of that shit now where it's, hey, here's digital. And then, you know, I watched Wolf Cop the other day, and I was so impressed that they used fucking practical effects in the film.
Oh, you know, practical really is the only way to go. It's, you know, CGI, it was a new toy for a long time. You looked at, I remember the first time I really witnessed how terrible it was in Spawn, and watching all the bad CGI there.
Thank you.
The cape was just too unbelievable to me.
Oh my God, the cape. Fuck. But you look at like, there's a place for CGI for sure. You look at like Jurassic Park where they did a mix of animatronics and puppetry and CGI to the parts where they couldn't, and it really worked well. They did the same thing with Real Steel where they built the robots, but they also did some CGI stuff, and it made the actors could click with them better. With horror, we're in such a point that CGI, you know, they always say fix it in post, rather than actually saying, well, let's make the fake head and let's rip that fucking thing off because that's going to be way cooler. Mm-hmm. That's kind of lost. It's I don't want to say it's a lazy man's way of doing it, but it's certainly not the better way, because practical, it just has a better look. CGI, the minute you see it, it's kind of like it'll take you out of the film.
Right. And I was about to say, with the Alien franchise, like, watching the originals with the actual animatronic xenomorph head coming in and, like, scaring the shit out of everybody, that was authentic to me. That got me into the series, like, as a huge fan. But now watching, like, the newer ones, like Prometheus and Alien and all that, it's, you, like you said, the moment you see like the alien kind of come out, and it kind of like detaches yourself from the movie, because now you're like, you don't know what to think of this. Like, it doesn't feel real like when you first thought of it, you know, 20 years ago or 25 years ago or whatever.
Oh god, especially when the Queen Alien and Aliens comes out and you're just like, holy shit, that thing is fucking huge. Like, and it's physically fucking there, and it's an imposing motherfucker.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, well, you look at, I mean, it's a bad comparison here, but I'll use it anyway. Look at the 1987 Predator with Schwarzenegger, where he fights the 7-foot Predator, and then look at that new Beauty and the Beast. I only know it because I had to sit through it recently, where you see the fucking Beast bring the girl down the stairs, and I'm like, holy fucking shit, he looks like a fucking cartoon.
Yeah.
I would have rather seen her on the arm of the Predator. That guy was legit.
Right. Could you imagine Beauty and the Predator being a fucking movie?
Just roars.
She sits there. She fucking sits there, and they're like, "Oh, he's got to learn to love back." Blah blah blah. For the last rose petal falls off, and he's just sitting there, and he's like. You know, you're just like, what the fuck?
Like, they're sitting at the table, and she's getting all mouthy, and you see the laser from the sight pop up on her chest. It's like, oh shit!
I told you not to go in the West Wing. You're like, fuck.
I would definitely pay to see it. I'd love it.
Yes.
Anything with the Predator, they typically get me anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of, like, what do you think about the new one coming up? Are you excited about that, or what do you think, man?
You know, I always watch I forget if Predators was the last one they did with the prisoners being dropped off and fighting the Predators. Then they had the Aliens vs Predators before that, and I always, you know, say after I watch the last one, I'm never getting excited for the next one. Fuck the Predator, I'm done. But then time passes, and I get to the point where I love the character so much, and I've rewatched the Schwarzenegger Predator so much that I get excited again. So I am very excited for the new Predator. So I'm bound for disappointment.
Well, hopefully it won't be such a disappointment, just because reading some of the reshoots they're going to be going back to do, make it like I guess a little, well, in their words, a little more scarier. But I was really interested in the idea that it's just going to be this big hulking motherfucking predator, like, that's, genetically altered.
A hybrid of a, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think where they dropped the ball, man, and I'm rewinding many years, was with Predator 2. I thought it was such a good idea to put the Predator in the city. And Predator 2, the screenplay just wasn't strong enough to carry it. But I think that's an avenue they could entertain again if we make it beyond this new one to a sequel. Because having the Predator in the city, much like, Jason in Manhattan, I think putting them in a different element, especially one that we're familiar with, could be very effective.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that's what they're trying to do, like more of the home community, like the actual close-knit places like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of a relatable scenario to actually have something so terrifying and daunting to come into your neighborhood and be like, oh shit, what do we do,
Yeah.
I rarely get afraid when I see someone get killed in space, because I know I'll never go to space.
Exactly.
Yep. And it's like having that, like, oh shit, like they're in my backyard. Oh, that, again, going back to horror, that's why Halloween worked so fucking well, because it wasn't the supernatural force. It was a fucking actual dude in a neighborhood fucking shit up.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're so right.
And and speaking about that, what are your feelings on the David Gordon Green Halloween coming out? Because, everybody kind of, like, a few friends of mine were like, well, what the fuck is going on? And I said, well, they're ignoring literally everything after the first, and this is supposed to be, like, an actual direct sequel to the original. He's not her brother anymore. She's got a daughter and a granddaughter now, and she, according to the trailers and story, has been training like a bad motherfucker to fight this guy, should he ever come out, so...
Well, I have a couple thoughts about it. One, I'm not a huge fan of a grandma fighting off Michael Myers. But on the other hand, it can't be worse than Rob Zombies. So we're definitely going to be moving forward on it. There's been such a weight on it, and the fact that John Carpenter's kind of given his thumbs up, and it's... I don't think we're going to see the next great Halloween film, but I do think we're going to see a film where we sit back and say, well, it's better than having Busta Rhymes, and it's better than Rob Zombie taking a dump on it again. So it's kind of like Terminator Genesis. You walk away saying, wow, that was really fun, and then you kind of forget about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then speaking of, they're doing yet, like, The Terminator, a direct sequel to 1 and 2, ignoring everything else that happened. And we've had we've had 3 separate fucking attempts to essentially reboot this franchise.
Sarah Connor Chronicles, and
yeah, I thought Genesis was actually pretty good. The Salvation I thought really fucking stunk.
I hated that one.
And I think Rise of the Machine gets a bad rap. I actually think that film is pretty decent. It's not as good as Judgment Day, but then again, what could be as good as Judgment Day? It had to be worse.
Yeah, but agreed on that front. I thought Rise of the Machines was pretty fucking decent for what it was doing.
Yeah, I was cool, because I was going to see Genesis to review for my website, and I had watched and reviewed 1, 2, and 3 going in, and I had assumed that I would be giving Rise of the Machines a very low rating. But when I watched it, I'm like, wow, that was actually a pretty good quality film. But the fact that they're going at it again, it goes back to our conversation where they cannot think of a new idea. Mm-mm. Why are we seeing everything again?
Absolutely. And, I guess that's another good way to, like, segue back into more of your stuff, because, like, I really, like, enjoyed... Like I said before, we both enjoyed Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre a lot. Mm-hmm. I actually went to go check out Sickle, and I really liked that one too. Because I know you gave me some backstory a while back on Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre. Like, what inspired some of your other films like Scary Tales and Sickle and things like that?
Well, with Sickle, I guess at the point was I'm very big, into the Mothman and Bigfoot and aliens and all that stuff. If there's a TV show that's talking about it and has any video and it has any expert or so-called expert saying Geno, you might be right. This shit might be real. I will watch. And so when I wrote Sickle, initially, Sickle was like a Jason Voorhees sort of machine, but then I had the idea to scrap that and go more paranormal, because the ghost hunters were pretty popular at the time, and the the whole paranormal stuff. If I could kind of hybrid slasher paranormal sort of thing. And so I started writing Sickle with the idea that he was more of a Freddy Krueger than the Jason Voorhees. And unfortunately, with Sickle, I had a budget in place for it, and I had some cool ideas, of him floating and all kinds of other cool stuff, and more deaths. But my budget had gone bye-bye when my wife had to leave her job for a while to do some student teaching. And so it became, do I still make the movie on this very, very small budget and lose all this stuff, or do I not make it at all? And I figured, hell, people hate me anyway, so fuck it, I'll make the movie. And so that's kind of how Sickle came to be, and I tried to make it more, softer than the other stuff, because like with Family Secret, which became Satanic Cleaver Massacre, people were like, it's very, there's not like a lot of likable characters, and so I made Michael in Sickle, where he is very soft and likable and and kind, and people can relate more to him, rather than the guy who is, sticking his tongue out when he's eating the sandwich and all that stuff.
Yeah. And it's such a big contrast between those two films. Like I said, like I said, I've enjoyed Sickle, and but going over to Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre, we didn't really go into too many details. We figured we'd let you do that, because when we reviewed it on our first Cult Cinema episode, dude, Cody and I fucking loved that movie. It was it was fun. It kept I loved it mostly for the fact that, like I said in that episode, I didn't see the fucking ending coming.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, once again, I've listened to the podcast about 15 times. I have it saved in my computer, so I want to.
So that's where all the plays came from.
That's where, yeah, it was me. Just trace the IP, you'll see it.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. I appreciate it. But yeah, with Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre, just to give you, we spoke about it, but the people listening don't know. But I come from a shithole family. Most of my family, they're all scum. And so when my grandmother died, I had no interest of going to her funeral, because I couldn't stand her. And so my mother had volunteered me as a pallbearer. And I guess once you're volunteered as that, you can't go, or you have to go. And it kind of makes sense. You're missing one guy, you drop the casket, the body flies out. It's a bad scene. And so I end up going to the funeral, and I see all my relatives that I haven't seen in about 20 years standing there. And so I start to mingle. I'm not good at mingling, but I mingled anyway. And I ended up realizing, holy fuck, no wonder I stayed away from these shitheads so long. And so later on, I was talking to my younger sister about the idea of how cool it would be, or how funny it would be, because we watch so many slashers, of a person dressing up as my grandmother and going around killing family members in a whodunit slasher film. And as kind of a lark, I wrote the script, and through through fate, or whatever you want to call it, Rise of the Scarecrows had made a good chunk of change by my standards. And I said, holy fuck, I got a budget now. I want to make a movie. What am I going to make? And the first thought that popped in my head was, well, what about Family Secret? And so I ended up just deciding, the hell with it. So I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it the way I want to make it. I'm going to display my family, in a cartoony sort of over-the-top way. I think a lot of film is based in actuality, but a lot of it is kind of like, you just exaggerate, Although the Geno character, I had fun with the Geno character, because, in that he beats up the rapist and he has all the hot girls coming on to him. I figured, hey, if I'm going to make someone based on myself, I may as well, have fun with it and have people draw their own conclusions if I could really beat up a rapist or not.
fucking funny
But,
though. We loved that and the Uncle Gary character so fucking much.
Oh my god, yes.
oh God, yeah, Uncle Gary. Alex Pierpoli, who played Uncle Gary.
That dude's
That
dude's a great guy.
Great guy, funny as shit, and fiery. And it comes out like he had the most demanding role of the film because we really had to. Because there's a line in there that's so wretched that he says to the two gay guys at the bar, I need to walk away. I don't want to catch AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the guy who owned the bar was a gay guy. And so, for Alex, it was really uncomfortable, even though everything was cool. But he had to go, out on the limb and say some very vile things.
Yeah.
And but he did it so well, and it made that character, so awesome. It was territory that I kind of, I wanted to write the film without kind of handcuffs on and just say, well, if people get offended, because I've gotten letters just calling me racist and homophobic and all this stuff.
And no, man, and people like we get it. You know what I mean? Like we get it. It's a work of fiction. It's a story, and people. I think like we mentioned earlier, people just want to bitch about something. So
pretty much.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you got those letters, and.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
But yeah, Alex is wonderful, and in the film, I remember how we developed. I take pride in ownership that I wrote the screenplay and I cast the film and I directed it, but the actors themselves have a great ownership in it as well. And so when you have like Alex, that character kind of evolved as we shot it. And at the end of the film, I don't know if you guys remember when he held the girl as a human shield to the granny killer.
Yes.
Well, that was a last minute thought because in the initial one, they had locked themselves in a room, and Gary says, "Well, let's fight. There's two of us. There's one of her. Let's fight." And he fights, and he dies first. But then, as I'm sitting there thinking, I went up to Alex and I said, "I think we need to use her as a human shield. Gary's such a piece of shit. He would look out for himself first." And that became a scene where when people saw it at the premiere, they laughed because it just was like right when you think he can't get worse, he's worse.
He pulls that shit, yeah.
Oh yeah, I loved it. It's still my favorite film in my collection, and I was kind of glad because it started out as Family Secret, but then I recut it as Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre, and I don't know, you remember the scene where the guy turns around wearing a goat head mask?
Yes.
In the very beginning?
Yes.
Okay, well that was shot 8 years after the film was shot.
Oh shit.
And, yeah, because I was like, what happened was, long story short, I didn't get the mask in time. And so we edited the film and we put it out. And then as it was going to the digital age, I wanted to make it a sharper cut because the original Family Secret was like 2 hours. And I wanted to cut it to 90 minutes. And so as I'm cutting it, I'm looking at this mask that I never used. So I got my cousin. I threw a black robe on him. I brought him to fucking the woods, and I dusted off the old camera I shot it with, and I shot that one scene to where the girl, now you see what she sees, where in the first one you never saw what she saw.
Yeah.
And that was something I really wanted to add. So that made me happy, and the fact that it's a sharper cut, and I cut out a lot of the the dialogue, trying to make it quicker, and so right now, even though people, you'll never make anyone happy, and people are more prone to say negative things than positive things, but the Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre has been way better, well received than Family Secret was.
That's a good thing. It definitely deserves to be received that well. We loved it. I can't say that enough. Out of your entire film set, like that, it's my favorite.
I appreciate that,
dude. But like we were saying about the characters in it, it's great because there's such an array of people and an array of characters in that. Now I feel stupid now. I can't remember because we talked about him possibly looking like Freddy Krueger a little bit with not the red and green sweater, but he still has Giebler.
Yes.
Yeah. God, that was I fucking loved it. Was that kind of like a Freddy Krueger-esque, like...
It was.
I figured that.
He ended up showing up with like a bunch, like 5 or 6 different outfits, and he had showed me that one, and I had mentioned, I'm like, that's awesome. It's kind of like a wink to Krueger. He's like, well, that was kind of my thought. So Patrick French, who played Giebner, gets the majority of the credit on that one, because it did. Everyone sees that, and it's cool because, yeah, of course we appreciate what Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees and all the other icons have done to direct us to where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, with all these films, you said this was the one that drew you back into filmmaking, correct? Like, because you said at one point you kind of, I'm going to say like quit or like gave up on it, but like you took like a few
hiatus.
years. Yeah, like a hiatus, like 6 years or something like that? Or
Yeah, well, what happened was this. I shot Evil Awakening. About a year later, we shot Rise of the Scarecrows, and Rise of the Scarecrows turned out to be such a pain in the ass. Nobody's heart was in it. Nobody knew their lines. I kept banging my head against the wall. It took so long to complete. And so when I walked away, just said to myself, I'm the only one that's fucking serious about this. I'm done with film. And so I ended up going to college, and my plan was I'm going into accounting, the exciting world of accounting. Mm-hmm. And then, as fate would have it, I ended up getting distribution through Tempe, and the films made money. And so after 6 years away and my vow never to return, I said to myself, well, I have this money in the bank, and I should give it one more go, but this time I'm going to do it the right way. And at the point, I was lost, but so I brought in a film kid to be my cinematographer. I brought in some lighting guys. I brought in I raided all the local acting groups, and I did everything I could to make what was once Family Secret the best it could be. And at the time, especially comparatively to Rise of the Scarecrows, Evil Awakening, it was a huge step up that I was very happy with. But yeah, and even after I shot Family Secret, it was such a trying ordeal. I wasn't sure if I'd ever film again, but thankfully I got the bug again, and I now work with people that actually want to work rather than say, "Hey, G-Man, I got you," and then they never show up. And so yeah, it's I say it all the time. You got to be an idiot to be a filmmaker. It's such a fucking frustrating thing. In my next life, I'm going to be a painter, or I'm going to play spoons. I'm going to do something that doesn't involve so many fucking variables.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And speaking of you work with people that actually want to work now. Like, how did you get hooked up with Greg and the guys over at Cinema Epoch? How did that come about?
It's I have been fortunate to have like good instincts, and long story short, I knew that at the time I wasn't going to stay with Tempe. Tempe's great, JR is great, but I knew digital was going big, and I saw that Cinema Epoch was doing a lot of digital, and so I hit up their acquisitions guy at the time with Scary Tales, and I also was pitching Family Secret because that never had a run. Yeah. And so I ended up getting in. Like, they accepted the films, and at the time, like, it became a legal thing that everything needs to be closed captioned, no matter what it is. And so they say you got to get your films closed captioned. And so I ended up going online looking for someone to do it, and I couldn't find it for like anything under than like $400 or $500. And at the time, I was fucking dirt poor. So I said, I got to figure out how to do this shit myself. And so I found a $60 program, and I captioned my 2 films. And at that point, Greg had hit me up, and he had like 50 films he needed captioned. And so he said, would you like to do these? And anytime they'd shake that money jar, I'd come running. And so I said, absolutely. And so at that point, Greg and I started to become very friendly, and he's a great guy, very fucking funny. And
absolutely agree.
Oh, yeah. And we started bouncing ideas off each other for different things, and he'd ask me about certain acquisitions and what I thought of them, and certain, and I sometimes I'd give advice when not asked about like trailers, and especially like when I'm captioning a film, and so I'm watching a 90-minute film over the course of about 8 hours to caption it, and so I see things, and so I'd go to him and I'd say, well, I think in the trailer I'd use these scenes, take it or leave it. So at that point, the acquisitions manager was released, and that opened up, and because I'm such a film guy, Greg offered me the gig. Thankfully, he hasn't fired me yet, so so it's going well, and I'm still captioning, and so I'm basically whatever the company needs me to do, I'll gladly do, and I can't say enough good things about the company or Greg. Best place I worked for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude, and we really can't say anything terrible about all you guys either, because ever since the Samurai Cop thing happened with us and everything, you guys have been so receiving and just open armed and very just genuine, generous people, and that's difficult to come by. And I'm not trying to say like, oh, especially in that industry, but really, like, it's difficult to come by like genuine people, like in any kind of given professional industry.
It is. It's the days of the handshake deal are over. It's very rarely do you find someone that's trustable. It's like I've told my wife I'm not allowed to make friends anymore because I don't pick well. And I find like with, especially in the film business, you deal with a lot of users, you deal with a lot of, you help somebody out, and the way they pay you back is trying to like oust you from your position or try to use you to launch themselves. That behavior never ever works. I don't know why they still employ it, but I want to tell you, over the past year, there's probably been like 20 filmmakers that I've cut ties with because of just negativity.
We don't blame you on that one either. Like, and just personally speaking, like, you would have to, essentially do that in like a personal life anyway, because, like we've mentioned, several times over through various episodes, and then especially in this one, it's like somebody's always got something negative to say, and it's not even in a constructive manner. It's just to tear you down.
More of a whiny manner.
Yeah, and then to build themselves up over, your failure, or like to just, what I'm saying? It's just...
Oh, yeah.
It sucks, and I think people like that are just pieces of shit, if I'm gonna be frank about it. So,
I'm frank with you, man. Frank had it right, that it is more people will tell you you can't than you can. It's a rare thing, because I've seen it, because like when I first started filming, I would have so many people, close friends to me, tell me, why are you doing it? It'd never go anywhere. The chances are 1 in a million. And never mind the fact that I was working a full-time job and ahead of all my bills, why did this one artistic thing bother them so much? And would they have said the same thing had I been playing the spoons or had I been sculpting something? It's a weird thing. Why? I don't understand why certain mediums prompt people to attack. I don't get that.
I don't either.
I guess it's... like snobbery, I guess. Like, people are just snobbish in, certain, places, and I don't like that. I don't play that, I don't play that shit. I don't play that card. I don't like that. I can sense, disingenuous people like a mile away, and I already, like, by the time it's like, oh, I'm coming close. Nope, I'm gonna do like Get Out and make that fucking hard beeline to the left and get the fuck out of the way. So, fuck that shit.
Oh. Yeah, it's something that I gotta improve on, man. Because like my childhood was chaos, and so I think I gravitate towards broken people, and I sympathize with the sob stories of someone, I never get a break, all this kind of stuff, and so I gravitate towards that. But the unfortunate thing is that the whole sob story is also the song of the con man, and I need to find my filter on that, because I've dealt with so many scumbags, especially recently, that, I have a friend, he just murdered his wife. He stabbed her like 50 times. And remarkably, he's not as bad as some of the people I've met. That's how bad these fucking jerk-offs are.
Holy
Jesus.
fucking shit, man.
That's put in
Well,
perspective.
Well, it's not funny, but I never watch the news. I hate the news.
The news
so
is like the most terrifying fucking thing you can watch.
The most depressing thing, yeah.
Yeah, there's never anything positive. You never hear about so-and-so opens up a new toy store or whatever. All you hear about is negative shit. But on one of those weird days, I had the television on, and the news was on, and they're like, oh, the first murder of the year. I said, all right, that's interesting. And then they mentioned my buddy of 20 years, and I said, no. And then they showed his house, and I'm like, oh, shit. And, yeah, he snapped, and it's a very fucking odd thing because, it's very hard for me to associate that act with the guy I knew. But it may just add more weight to the idea I shouldn't be allowed to pick friends.
I mean, well, I hate to even use this term because it's such a cliche fucking term, but it's like you live and you learn, It's stupid, but it's true, I guess, in some instances. That's so unfortunate, though,
Yeah, it sucked, man, but I got a few good buddies left, so I haven't run out of them yet.
Hell yeah.
Always good.
And there was, because I was going to actually ask you, let's think about a way to kind of wrap everything up here. I just recently saw on, Cinema Epoch's, social media channels and stuff that you have landed a project with Jeff Jedds and Mr. Leo Fong, director of Hawkeye, which I fucking love that movie so much.
Yep.
Because Hawkeye was Rush Hour before Rush Hour happened, and dare I say, better than fucking Rush Hour.
I'm with you there, totally, absolutely better.
I fucking love that shit, man. And how did it feel? Because I know you were kind of wanting to showcase what you could do outside of the horror genre. Because just me personally speaking to you, I know that creatively speaking, there's so much more stories for you to tell outside of that genre. So, without giving away too many spoilers, or if you can even talk about it, how did this come about? How long were you sitting on the screenplay? How did they approach you, or did you approach them? How did all this come about?
Well, this is kind of how it came about. 2014, I get hired by Cinema Epoch, and they were doing Samurai Cop 2. And so at that point in my head, my first thought is submit a screenplay. But I didn't want to burn my bridge. So I kind of just became like, if Greg had anything you wanted to bounce off someone, I was there to talk about it and give my opinion on it. But I didn't want to come in and because I know, every writer's idea is, that they have the right script. And so I kind of, I stayed out of that one outside of just, giving my opinion and whatnot. But when this kind of thing came together, Greg had came to me and said, would you be interested in writing an action film? And with Leo involved. And fuck yeah. And especially considering, I am a Cannon guy. I am a Charles Bronson, Chuck Norris guy. And so to write a film that is a throwback to the that era, the Death Wish, the 10 to Midnight.
Fucking Invasion USA, all that shit, man.
Yes, to get that chance, is what I want to do, and is what I want to do for a long time. But making an action film, you need a budget, and I didn't have that. That's why I'm a horror guy, but all I can make is horror. Low budget comedies, low budget action films. No one's gonna look. So when this opportunity came to me, it was great. It's the right place, right time, and Greg has been very, very good in advising me and reading the screenplay and saying, well, between page 50 and 70, you need something to speed it up, because I'm a dialogue-driven writer. And so to have him kind of guide me along has been great. And I think that this screenplay, which is the film, I don't think we've announced the film, but I've been the okay to do it now. So this is where you'll hear it first. It's the name of the film is 24 Hours to Kill. It's not to give too much away, but it's about a terrorist group that's attacking LA with the idea to blow up a skyscraper. And you have a rogue group of detectives and a few others that plan to stop it. And so it's for me, it's the biggest feather in my cap so far, and I can't wait to see it materialize. And I think people are going to walk away saying, "Oh wow, he can write." You know, it's going to be nice.
We definitely can't wait to see it too. So
hell yeah, man, that sounds fucking awesome, and especially being able to work with, again, working with Greg on it, because you're already you're already close with him, but then you have such a legendary person like Leo Fong involved, and then Jeff Jedds, who is a fucking badass in general. Like, so this like, I don't know if you're a Dungeons and Dragons dude, but this is your fucking dice roll right here, man. this is the fucking one. This is awesome.
Yes. Well, and I sort of, I believe that, I'm not a religious man, and I'm not a big, destiny guy, but there's been a lot of happy coincidences that have led me to this point. And I always say, put me in the game, just put me in the game, let me play. And this is my chance, because if this one does well, hopefully, I get a chance to do another action film, because, horror and action, I would love just to be part of any group that brings back the canon group, that element, that style of action. I think people are sick of the Transporter brand of action and the Expendables brand of action. Let's get some real, like, urban action, fucking Chi-Town, LA, all that stuff, where you got one badass detective just taking out the bad guys.
You're preaching to the choir, man. Trust us.
We're right there with you, dude, because I mean, like we've mentioned several times, like, those are some of our favorite fucking movies. It's just that real actual grit, like, just the Chuck Bronson, Chuck Norris kind of action. Like, that shit is missing, and that shit was just untapped gold mines. People just passed some of that shit off back then, and fuck, man, it was so good.
Yeah, you're not going to get better. I still watch those films. I just watched Missing in Action 2: The Return this morning. These are films that you don't see anymore. I mean, everything. I mean, like, I guess the closest thing nowadays you can get to it is like Liam Neeson and his stretch of action films, but they're still small potatoes compared to what we used to have. We've lost so much through the committees. I think this is what destroyed everything. I'm not sure if have either one of you guys ever worked on a committee?
No.
Okay, I have. And I want to tell you, the worst thing in the world is a fucking committee, because everyone wants to do something. No one does anything, and everyone wants to tell you exactly why you can't do anything. And I think when you get people in a committee that look at a screenplay and say, we want this out, we want that out, for all these different reasons, you start fucking the concept and the idea and the screenplay overall. So I think this is, because how many hands does a screenplay go through before it finally gets a green light at a place like Warner Brothers?
Too many.
Yeah, too fucking many, dude. And I think that's why we're happy to see this project come to fruition for you, because obviously it's not in too many fucking hands, and I think it's just in the right amount of people's hands and the right people's hands for you.
I think so too. I don't think I could be in a better position, and with Greg and I, we're very much on the same page as far as where we see the direction of this film and what we want from this film, and also what we like in an action film. We're both the Canon Group fans, that golden era of action films. No apologies, just good, gritty, fun, well-written action.
Absolutely, man. And I guess it's be a good point to send her on home, man. If you'd like to plug anything for everybody out there listening, where they can find all, like, your reviews, like your Scared Stiff and everything like that.
Sure, absolutely. I appreciate it. Yeah, well, anyone that wants to read my reviews, or if you have an affection for the Incredible Hulk, Lou Ferrigno, scaredstiffreviews.com. I review just about everything and anything. It's not just a horror film site. I think I reviewed cereal brands at one point.
Fuck yeah.
So check that out. Also, if you have Amazon Prime, Satanic Meat Cleaver Massacre, Halloween Tales, Scary Tales, Evil Awakening, Rise of the Scarecrows. Feel free to, and also Amityville, the final chapter. Give any of those a chance. You can find me on Facebook. If you watch them, you want to tell me off, you can just message me on Facebook, and I'll be glad to respond.
He's not kidding either.
No, he's not.
I send love to everyone, even if they hate my work. And if you love my work, I'll love you more.
Equality for everybody.
That's right. And for those of you listening out there for this, we're gonna put some links in the show notes below to Geno's sites. That way you can just scroll down, click that shit, and go right to it.
So. I appreciate that, fellas.
Oh, it's not a problem at all, man. We really appreciate you and Greg and everybody over at the company that have just, in our opinion, just gone above and beyond for us. We really appreciate all the help and really just, all the camaraderie, above all else, like I said, I feel like we've made actual, friends for life through you guys.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We love what you do, and yeah, just keep up the good work. You guys are great. You crack me up all the time, so I sincerely appreciate that.
Oh, it's not a problem, Geno. Well, we're going to roll on out of here. We really appreciate you coming on and doing this with us, man.
Thank you very much, you guys. Take care, and to everyone, have a great week.
You too, brother.
Thank you very much.
Later, man.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't that exciting?
Very exciting.
I'm still titillating from the experience.
Are you titillating from the experience?
I'm lactating.
Lactating.
I gotta change my shirt.
Lactose intolerant.
And toddler ants.
And toddler ants.
But no, that was very enjoyable.
Abso-fucking-lutely. What a delight it was to actually finally speak to him, not through text and not through, Messenger or anything, to put a fucking voice with a face and all that,
Relief.
Yes. Fucking awesome. We fucking love you, Geno. That was a lot of fun. Hope we can do that again sometime.
We meet the most awesome people.
Fuck yeah.
And that's great. Even all of you people. Y'all are awesome.
I know. We fucking love you.
Both of you.
Come hug us.
Right now.
Right now. Climb through your iPhone, your laptop, your car,
Android,
your car stereo, just come hug us right now.
Why you have to be specific with iPhone? Stop it, Macaulay.
Fucking asshole.
God damn.
It's because you shit all over my Apple product.
So is Steve Jobs then.
He's not doing his jobs. He's not doing his jobs.
See?
God, see?
This is why we can't have nice things.
It always with the interference. It's
we
bullshit.
Can't talk shit about anybody.
No, we can't. What if we talk shit about each other?
Okay, that works.
Yeah, it fucking went away. It's fucked up. All right. So be sure to look out for Geno's film, his screenwriting for his film when it comes out. Leo Fong and Jeff Jed's Cinema Epoch, the whole involvement. For fuck's sake, do it. And while you're waiting for that, if you go down below in the show notes, we will provide a link to scaredstiffreviews.com, which is his horror movie review website, amongst other genres. But, that. We will provide some links to his film library on Amazon Prime. So go check all that shit out. Support this dude.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Do it now.
Wow.
Right now.
Wow.
Wow.
Ka-chow.
Ka-chow. Wow. That's enough fucking mumbling from us.
Yeah.
So once more, if you would like to follow us on social media, we were going to give you the rundown if you're going to listen, which, you usually fucking do, but I hope none of you really skip through this shit, because it's you get to the end and you're like, oh, he's doing the rundown. But we actually do shit afterwards sometimes.
Sometimes.
It's like that, after credits.
It's like a 30-second interlude of just bullshit.
Yeah. We don't just plug for nothing. We keep the train rolling even after the fact.
We plug for love and with love.
That's right. That sounds so dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I'm a dirty person. Anyway.
Yes. Facebook.com/SuperMediaBros.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter.com/SuperMedia_Bros.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Macaulay. God damn it.
And our Instagram. Because,
Instagram.
he's not going to let us talk any further.
He's not.
You see, you would have skipped through this and you would have missed this whole fucking, IT, Big Brother watching us kind of shit going on.
Because I'm pretty positive that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Instagram.com/SuperMediaBros podcast.
You already know to come look at our stupid fucking pictures.
Come look at our stupid pictures, you sons of bitches. We love you.
We do.
Really hard. I decided to not blow your eardrums out this week.
Slightly with me. But not much.
Slightly. So, with that being said, we're going to get the flying fuck out of here. But before we go, ladies and gentlemen, it's back.
Uh-oh.
It is fucking back.
Uh-oh.
The third installment of our Cult Cinema Showdown series. Yeah.
Squirt.
Uh-huh. Next week, right here, we will be putting the two films head-to-head known as Syndicate Smasher and Deadly Prey. Damn!
Can y'all really... can y'all handle that? I know it's hard. Just hold on for a second. Breathe. Okay. Can you handle it? I hope you can. Because this is a lot.
It is a lot.
3 episodes already.
I know, dude. And it's just going to keep going because we have made the decision to expand this series to every other episode, which means twice a month, sometimes 3 depending on the amount of weeks in the month.
True.
You're going to get 2 Cult Cinema Showdown episodes. And holy shit, we have a fucking plethora of them.
The list is extensive.
Yeah, we're not even exaggerating. If we literally did just these kind of episodes, we'd probably have 3 years worth of material.
That's not long.
No, it's not. We're not exaggerating. So,
but we're trying to not be strictly movies. We're going to broaden our horizon like we normally do. So this, like he says, every other week. So.
Yeah, and you'll catch the usual shenanigans from us every other week,
Right.
which we have episodes lined up from here to November right now, and more to come afterwards. So, once again, thank you guys for listening and tuning in and all that jazz, visiting our social media and liking our stuff, sharing it and letting other people hear it and all that stuff.
Rating and reviewing and all that fun stuff.
That's right. Rate, review, and subscribe.
We
You want to get the fuck out of here?
might as well.
Okay, let's get the fuck out of here.
Haha.
I thought the drummer was not going to play for a second.
And you're the drummer.
I am the motherfucker.
Blame yourself.
I blame myself for everything.
No, not everything.
That was Awakening Evil with Geno McGahee. Until next week, I've been Midnight Agent Raw.
And I've been Okame.
Shades on!
We're off.